Good afternoon, folks. It is 5 o'clock. Thank you for being here. We are going to run through some items on our workshop before we swear in the new council. So we're going to get started here at first. At this time, this is an opportunity for members of the public to suggest the addition of topics for discussion or to address topics of interest to the members of the council. We please limit your discussion to 3 minutes. All speakers will conduct themselves in an orderly and lawful manner. Please, like I say, keep it to 3 minutes, and we'll start right now. And right now, Mike, we have you as the sole sign up, so you're up. Well, you signed up for it now, so what do you want to do? It's up to you.
Or both. You can do it at both.
You bet. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Tommy, are you available? You're the next man on the agenda. We have 3 items. The next 3 items, DS 25029, 30, and 31. They all pertain to planning and zoning, so we're kind of rushed to try to get a lot of things in our workshop today before we go into regular session. So take care of all three of them. We'll take them in sequence, and that way, if anybody has questions, it'd be any one of the three, okay? Is that okay, council?
Yes. You want to take it from the top with ADA?
No, that's the first one.
That's the first one.
Right, afternoon. Okay, so there's been quite a bit of back and forth on ADA and incorporating ADA requirements into the city of Resort Code of ordinances. I think over the past few discussions, all right. What I did was, as part of the cover sheets,
Or these bring them.
thank you. Thank you. So as part of the cover sheets, you will see that I have proposed three options, three possible options for incorporating ADA requirements. The first option is basically reflects how the city of Austin has incorporated ADA requirements within their ordinance codes. Option B looks at how the city of Belton has incorporated ADA requirements within their ordinance code, and Ordinance C would look at how the city of Belton has incorporated ADA requirements. But also, as part of the references, I've also included the city of Lampasas and Village of Soledo, because they are similar to the city of Morgan's Point Resort in terms of population and size. So that gives us a good idea of how we might want to include the ADA requirements within the city of Morgan's Point Resort ordinance codes. I will say, if we look at the city of Lampasas and Village of Soledo references on page 7, you can see that they are just pertaining to the parking spaces and parking provisions. So that gives us an idea if that is the only area that we want to incorporate ADA requirements within the city of NPR, or are we looking at more sections that we want to look at? And if we do want to look at more sections, then what I've done in option A is given you the different sections that can possibly be used as the points where we can add in the ADA requirements. Again, I don't think you have to make a decision today, because I know it's a lot of information to go through. So maybe by the next meeting, you have had a chance to go through all three options and then see what best fits the city of NPR in terms of what we want to use and how we want to move forward. Again, at this point, we can go with the bare minimum, and then moving forward, we have these different options that we can slowly start to incorporate within the city of NPR ordinance codes.
Okay, well, I do have a couple comments on the option A, which is the more spreading it out through all the ordinances. It shouldn't, my understanding is that it shouldn't apply to residential properties. It really is for public accommodations, commercial facilities, and government-owned or operated housing. So there's a lot in this option A that says residential needs to comply, like their pools and stuff like that, and I don't think that we should go that route. I like the more simplistic route, but I want to make sure that it's inclusive to businesses
Right.
rather than just community home.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So no residential, and then, yeah, then we can't dictate the ETJ, that's in number 18. You can't tell them what to do. Okay, so those are really my two comments.
You are correct, and I feel like with these options, you have the ability to kind of pick and choose what would suit the city and how you think these options can be added. I just gave more options just so y'all have like a wider choice to kind of pick and choose from.
Okay. So do we want to discuss it, or it's not on the regular agenda, so if we don't.
Well, we're just to vote on, it's all this is presentation.
Just discuss.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss it, or we want to push it
I would just have a question to you and ask, what would you recommend if you were having to decide it without us?
I actually would agree with Dorothy, and I think kind of just limiting ourselves to the commercial aspect would be appropriate. We target businesses, and I don't want to say target, just look at incorporating requirements for businesses or commercial zones.
Okay.
And then the residential can come at a later stage because I feel like that's more of a larger city problem.
Thank you.
You want to accept that?
So as a council, do we want to discuss it now, or do we want to wait till it's on our regular agenda next time?
I think I'd like to wait until, since we're flip-flopping, we're bringing more folks on board. We'll wait since they're going to be the decision makers, but I'm tracking with you.
I think that'd be fair.
That sounds good.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sam.
Tommy, do you have the other rest of it?
Y'all should have everything there. They're requesting a variance of 15 feet in front of the line of sight with the front of the house. It's an adjoining lot, which is 0.35 acres. It's well within the setback regulation. It's well within the site corner. They want to get their fence out for a garden and parking for their motorhome and stuff. Any other question? I don't know what else.
Y'all approved, the state planning and zoning approved that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be voting on that in regular session, so if you have a question, now's the time to ask it, but we'll vote on that in regular session.
I did have a question, because when I looked at it, I thought it looks like it's already in compliance with what our laws are. The setback and everything was correct?
The only thing that will be out of compliance is 15 feet in front of the house,
Okay,
in front of the sight line of the house.
gotcha.
That house is set back 42 feet from the road,
Gotcha,
and
okay,
they only have to be 25 feet,
right,
and they're not even going up near the 25 foot
okay.
from the road.
So, yes, so that was so they could plant the garden and stuff in that area, okay.
The only reason we wanted to bring it to the city council is because we found an ordinance code which basically talks about how the fence line needs to follow the structure. And that was our only point of concern.
And
Other-
it is confusing because there's a structure on one lot, but there's no structure on the other lot.
On the other lot.
So I can see you're taking it from the first lot's house.
Yeah, but when you look at
So
the
that's
setback,
variance.
that's,
right?
that's the variance. But when you look at the setback lines, it is completely within that. And if we look at the next lot as a separate lot on its own, then it doesn't have to follow the structure fence line.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then we usually get a survey. I didn't see a survey in here, so I couldn't tell if any easements were affected. Do we have a survey? When you purchased the house, did you get a survey? I mean, that's usually what we get. We don't, so there's no easements at all on that corner lot?
Okay,
Okay, so easements, there's no impact on easements. And
Also, the fence doesn't pose any kind of visual impairment with the street.
I saw that.
I went out there and looked at all of it.
too.
It's so far back.
Right.
I mean, it's a benefit for our citizen to, I think, get this.
No, I understand. I just
It's
didn't get a
just-
survey, so I couldn't tell any easements. And then I want to be perfectly clear that this variance is only for the fence. There was a request well, there wasn't a request, there was a comment in there about future sheds, garages, tiny homes, and that is absolutely not in this application, nor are you recommending. This variance is only for the fence.
The fence.
Okay, good. I want to be perfectly clear on that. Okay.
If I recall, I can't find it, but if I recall correctly, it was a 3-1 vote, and I don't care who dissented, but what was the concern?
So
Do you remember?
So at that point, I think there was just, the concern was either we approve it for the whole case, like in terms of the fence also gets built out, but then the other committee, the commission also wanted to make sure that we are aware of the kind of fence that goes in, or the height of the fence, the material of the fence, which comes after. So this is the variance for just the fence distance.
But they'll follow the ordinance we have
Yeah.
on materials and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, yeah.
Very good? Appreciate that very much. Thank both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Next one is to do with the interlocal agreement with Bell County.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, this has been on the agenda for a couple of times. The last time we discussed it, you all decided that it'd be best for the county to go ahead and be authorized to regulate subdivision plats in the city's ETJ. And of course, it's something that's required under Chapter 212 Local Government Code, that there's an agreement on how it will be handled. Based on that conversation tonight, you have before you an agreement that is included in your packet that does give the county that authority. In addition to that, it will require an ordinance change, amending the Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances to the ETJ to allow Bell County to be overseeing that process, not only the plating, but the permitting. And that's all there is.
Yeah, if I could just add, one of the overriding reasons for me to go ahead and let the county roads in, everything else, was to not burden the cost of Morgan's Point with ever come in our, and we may never get any revenue from them. So that was, just so you know, that was one of the overriding considerations for me.
And the dovetail into that, the courts had ruled, that's why the county judge wanted to get this out, because the courts ruled that whoever accepts that also accepts the maintenance of that new plating subdivision, if you will. So it's important to not to commit ourselves in the county or in the ETJ when we don't have to. And like you said, the way the laws are now, you pretty much have to want to be over here or you wouldn't be annexed in. So, okay, thank you.
Get the vote on that here in a few minutes. Okay, going right along, DS 25033. This has to do with the hazard mitigation action plan. I'm with Jimbo. I think you're probably going to ram out that one.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can cover that. So, council, you have it in the packet for our residents. Essentially what the HMAP program is something that NPR should have been participating in for the last, since we were organized. It is a mitigation plan that the county develops in conjunction with all of the municipalities that participate. Essentially what we did over the last 14 months or so is we assembled hazards that we think directly impact or influence our community. It is an 815-page document that has been adopted by the county. Tonight, we are simply going to be asking council to approve the resolution for Morgan's Point to adopt it. Council, you do have an abbreviated packet, which for our residents looks like this, which covers essentially the things that we have identified as key hazards for Morgan's Point. They go in depth on this thing, just so when you don't read all 815 pages, they talk about earthquakes and dam breaks and everything else under the sun. So it is a good document if you have nothing to do in your spare time. So
Yeah,
Great.
of course I have comments on it. But probably my biggest overriding issue on this, and why I'm hesitating on adopting this, is it's a $5,150,000 ticket, that most of which are supposed to be implemented within 24 months. I understand that it doesn't all have to be from the city. I understand it can be grants, but I would like to have a few grants lined up, like 2 million here and 2 million there, before we commit to $5 million, because we're already overcommitted, in my opinion.
It's a plan. It's not an action item to to commit the council at that time, at any time, unless it chooses to do so. What it does do, though, it allows us to apply for funding that would not otherwise be, we wouldn't be able to do it if we're not included in the plan. That's the provision that they
By
provide.
approving this, we are not committing.
No, you're just saying that's a plan that we adopt and that we see that those projects, whether they're stormwater, whether they're disaster recovery, whatever it may be that's associated with it, water lines, whatever it may be, that anything that we find, and I say stormwater, for example, some of the challenges we're facing here, that is something that you all will, on those items, it has to come through as an action item. This is a plan, nothing more. And if for some reason you choose to change it, it has to be updated annually, and we have that opportunity to do that.
Okay, so maybe we can say that in the resolution, that it is a plan and action items will be approved as determined or something.
It says the City of Morgan's Point Resort will pursue available funding opportunities for implementation, obviously, and then upon receipt of such funding and other necessary resources, seek implementation of actions contained in the mitigation strategies. But the next one says, we're talking about the authority city manager given the responsibility authority means to inform all parties of this action, assure the hazard plan, if you will. Update will be reviewed
Do I have that?
at least annually.
Do I have
It's-
that document?
It's coming, there should be a page right here laying separate. And it says it will be updated annually and reviewed updated and reviewed annually, and that any needed adjustments will be presented to council. So you're going to have, that's number 3, if you will. And that,
Oh, okay, I haven't seen.
so that should give us that oversight that you're looking for, that it'd be updated annually, and you all would be, it would be brought before council for any adjustments to be presented to council for consideration. This is not a binding agreement to do any of the things on there.
Yeah.
It gives a plan forward, just like any kind of strategic plan you
Yeah,
want.
all the stuff in here, oh my gosh, yes. These are critical issues that our city needs to address. You know, the wildfire and the drought and the flooding and getting specialized equipment for the fire department so they can do their job more effectively. I mean, it's all great stuff. We just have to be careful how much we
Yeah.
can do. So,
And-
okay, well, give me a minute on the resolution, and I'll get to that at the meeting then. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get a copy of this for some
We
reason.
just, it was,
but I didn't-
we had to change and update the last minute. That's why we just provided it to now, just now.
Okay, I mean, I didn't even get it right now. It wasn't at my
Oh.
place.
I
So,
apologize.
that's okay.
It's on me.
That's okay.
Okay, moving right along, Nadia, you available? This has to do with an RFQ for general engineering services from Casper and Associates.
While she's preparing to speak with you all, this is talking about general engineering. So this is very important. This means it's kind of like an on-call engineer as we see need for that as a city and approved by council. We've got a lot of aging infrastructure. We have aging parks, water lines, you name it, it's out there. This particular company will be assessing all city infrastructure and reporting back to us and ranking that, what's the most important. If you think about the last of February, we did a CIP meeting to talk about this. They dovetail them together. You may want to change that based on this new information, but so critical, especially when you're trying to develop a multi-year approach to addressing some of the challenges we're facing, whether it's roads, whether it's water lines, whether it's storm water, it doesn't matter. They're going to evaluate it, and we'll have an opportunity to tailor to to this community's needs moving forward. And I think it's so important, if we know where we're going as far as some of the challenges, we can plan accordingly in order to get that accomplished. Go ahead, Ida, I'm sorry.
So as Dennis said, we did send out an RFQ for general engineering. We did also do one for stormwater. However, we felt that we could couple those together and get the best value out of our RFQ for general engineering, and we have chosen KPA. So with that being said, it is pretty much to further the city to meet their park, roadway, aging sewer system, of those sorts. And the fiscal impact, there will be a fiscal impact when the city engages for KPA engineering's funds for the services will be through the city's budget process and approved by council. The recommendation is that council award the RFQ 2503 to Casper, Patrick and Associates LP for general engineering services and authorize city manager to execute a 3-year contract for said services.
There were, how many total, NIDA, did we get response?
So we had a healthy response. We had 6 pretty local, and they were very good. So with that being said, we went through it very extensively and found that was going to be a better option.
And one thing it's really important to highlight, this is the only respondent that actually knew to put in there to assess the infrastructure of the city. None of the rest did. They were looking kind of like through a keyhole, and they knew that you had a project, they knew you had looking for grants and things of this nature. Most all of them will provide that type of service. But what you really want to know is your starting point, and they're the only ones that came up with what a larger city would experience. Like saying, okay, let's evaluate what we got, rank them, public safety, welfare, and what have you, approach, and then we'll be able to have basically a plan moving forward based off of their assessment of all of our critical infrastructure. It's really approach that sold, besides they had the qualifications, what have you, they're the only ones of the 5 or 6 respondents that we had that actually said, we first will assess everything you have and rank it and determine which is a higher priority based on what they see. Ultimately, that decision's your all's.
I would say, and also they also were the one organization that had their key stakeholders that had a few people at 25 years with the organization.
Wow.
So that historic speaking is really what we were looking for. We were looking for somebody with 5+ years, just that had the background, and several. I think it was 60+ years within like just 2 or 3 people.
And
so that's volumes.
that's a good thing to bring up, Nadia. The thing of it is, when it comes to engineering firms, just like anything else, the longer they have the opportunity to work together, the better they become as far as their product delivery. And so you don't want, if you see 1 year, we saw one of them 1.1 year.
Yeah, one year and one.
Yeah. So when they get down to that, that means they don't have a lot of time working together. That synergy's not there. That they're still working out some of that. So it's one of those things. It's not that it's a disqualifier, but it's something you want to look at. And so I think it's going to work, and it will also dovetail into the water well permitting and things of this nature that we're looking at doing.
Now, did we get the resolution on that one?
It's not. It's basically it should be a CCMR. Is that what you got in there?
Resolution.
All we're doing is giving me.
Okay.
Yes, and that's all you need.
But the memorandum isn't in here? I didn't see it.
Well, what it is, okay.
That's okay.
Well,
Thought I missed something.
the city, no, apparently not. So the city council memorandum just gives me the authority. One, awards it to them saying, yes, that's the company we can use. And it allows me to go ahead and enter into the contract with them.
Is there a reason we went with 3 years instead of 2?
You can usually go 3 years, we extend, sometimes you can build a contract, 2 1-year extensions. You don't want to go over 5 years from what I've been exposed to in my career. So I would, preference is less than 5. 3 gives us plenty of time to see. This is always one of those contracts where you can say, we're done, we're moving on, we're shifting gears to a different company if they don't deliver. But, so those provisions are built into the contract.
Curious where they're from.
Temple, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
We spent money on them before. You what?
They do most of Temple's engineering studies.
They're
All of
local,
it.
so we won't have to go to Austin or wait for somebody to get here or what have you. We can go over and sit down with them and talk to them. That tailored service, local, is so important to be available to us, and that's why, that's another thing we considered.
Okay, you ready? We're moving on. Matt, you're the next one.
Got to adjust this microphone for the tall people here.
You bragger.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. In front of you tonight, you should see a resolution. The resolution is simply a request, and it's a generic resolution. Doesn't have any specific funding amount in it. It's a request for us, the police department, through the authority of the city manager to enter into an application for a grant. The grant is the SB 2024 Catalytic Converter Grant. It stems from Senate Bill 2024, and it's enacted basically to help curb catalytic converter thefts. But what the caveat is also there's a provision in there for vehicle theft. So what we want to do is we want to make an application for this grant. Use the funds to expand our flock camera system that we have. We do have a gap in one area, and with the expansion of another area, which is a gap in our area, we can take care of with a single stationary camera. We want to purchase an additional camera that's flexible so that we can put it into one of our neighborhoods that is expanding. Doesn't have one way in or doesn't have a way in just yet, but it will sooner or later. So it gives us the ability to take that camera and place that there, covering some of that, what you would call non-planned entrance or exit into the city. And then we can also use that camera flexible to put in places of hotspot area that we need to focus on. We want to use those funds, like I said, to expand that network. It is a 80-20 grant, meaning they will pay 80%, we will pay 20%. What I did find out today through another meeting is that let's just say we add 2 cameras now, or 4 cameras, 6 cameras, whatever that may be, through this grant. From my understanding is this grant was previously awarded last year. It is this year, and seems to be going to be continued to be funded for the next foreseeable few years. And whatever items that we purchase through this grant, we can use next year to provide funding for those as well. We can't do it for our existing 4 cameras that we have now, but it'll just say if we add 2 cameras using this grant fund now, that next year we should be able to include those into that, and so we'll help offset the cost and hopefully keep expanding the program. So that's what that resolution is for. Again, is to make the application to the program for the funding. And then, like I said, with the caveat of we don't know what we're looking for just yet, except for we do know we're looking for a minimum of 2 cameras. And that funding source for that 20% of those 2 cameras at the moment would come from already existing budgetary funds. If we increase that number, we would be looking to continue to maybe offset those with other funds or other programs that we did not do this budget year, or we would come back through the budgetary process and ask for an amendment, which I think is on the latter side of something that we probably wouldn't do. We'd be able to find the funding in our existing budget somewhere. So, any
You answered
questions?
all of my questions, believe it or not. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. And
That's
I
good.
also wanted to just say
check on that one.
how much I appreciate you going after these grants for our city. It means a lot, and it really helps with our funding. And I was prepared to do, something on a 20% match, but if it's already budgeted, I'm even happier. So thank you.
Yeah, we would, like I said, we do have a little bit left over already that was already budgeted for flock system because we anticipated a price increase. And so we already have that. But we have other money that we have not used in that same line item that was not expensed for a different project. And so we still have other funding to do that before we would even come, request a budget amendment if it ever made it that far.
And keep up the good work. We appreciate what you do. We don't tell you all the time, but we do, I promise you. And everybody recognizes
It's a
it.
thankless
So,
job sometimes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Folks, I hate to do this to you, but we're going to need to adjourn into executive session. So we're going to have to vacate the premises for just about 20 minutes. We'll be back in here. It's close to 6 o'clock as we feasibly can. We're going to try to run this through pretty fast, but there are some things we do have to cover. So under Section 551.071, 072, and 073 has to do with voluntary annexation, litigation, and city manager's performance evaluation. So at this time, we'll adjourn.
flying for a few days, then up and running.
Probably. How you doing?